think this is going to be exciting.
Yeah, we got car restarts up to go. Green flag is out and underway.
Just a few laps into this. Oh, the 37's getting loose. Oh, and he saves it. Oh, they're going 3 wide.
We've got a 5-way fight for the win of this race coming to 4 laps to go. Spectacular fashion.
Welcome in, Goat Locker racing fans. It's time for Week 11 action on 11/11. But most importantly, it's Veterans Day. And from all of us here at Goat Locker, as well as V-Speed, we want to say thank you to all of our veterans for everything they've given us, past, present, and future. And of course, a special shout out to the creators, the founders of Goat Locker, and the message behind our mission, Patrick Drabick and Jamie Barkas, for their service and their efforts to give back to our veterans and warriors. But it's week 11, and I'm your host, Logan Threlkel. Joining me tonight, we have Daniel Cunningham as our co-host, and of course, Lucas Lyons running our production truck. It's a fine Tuesday evening for some open-wheeled road course action. We've got some names up here putting down some very fast lap times in the practice session. Right now, currently in qualifying, how are our drivers looking tonight, Daniel?
Yeah, I think the big question heading into this race is who can dethrone Rick Ray Vaughn, the guy that's just really been the one to beat the entire season over here in this IndyCar series. But you mentioned it, there's a couple of drivers putting down some lap times pretty close to his. So be interesting to see if anybody can get up there and mount a challenge to our overall points leader and the dominant driver on the season.
Well, you've pretty well already started the conversation. Let's go ahead and finish it. Let's pull up our current points coming into tonight's race. Of course, Rick Ray Vaughn with a massive lead over the field, 138 points separating him and our second-place driver, Christopher Gosch. Then it's the 33 taking up that third spot. Tyler Justice having a very competitive season here, followed up by Jamie Libke in the 16, rolling in fourth with Devin Smith in the 24 here in fifth. Jake Ham in the 85 takes up the sixth spot in the standings with Mike Browning on his tail in the 4 machine in seventh. Warren Clayton, Brian Provo, and Nathan Graham round out the last half of the top 10. All the drivers here on the right-hand side of the screen. A lot of drivers not making all of the races. Matthias Marcamini, James Goshen, Regis Clark, Samuel Yosef, Ryan Pendleton, Zachary Menace, Jason Christen, Kyle Deering, Jacob Ellingson, John Lawless. Just a lot of names that we haven't seen here all the way to this week 11 point. But let's talk about where we're at. It's mid-Ohio, and it's a 13-corner circuit here in Lexington, Ohio, 2.25 miles in length, a little bit of elevation change. Apologize, 14 corners. I miscounted earlier, but opened up in 1962. A lot of history here and a lot of controversy. I know a lot of drivers tend to either love or hate this place, Daniel.
Yeah, that is true. I cannot say that I've ever run it in an open wheel car. I've only run it in in Xfinity cars, and I think I've done one race in the trucks here. To be completely honest, count me into the latter category. In stock cars, I have never been able to figure this place out, but there's definitely some drivers that are making it look fairly easy out here as we're keeping an eye on practice and qualifying in these Indy cars. So, but you're right. I mean, there's a lot of drivers that really do enjoy this place. It is suited better for the open wheel cars and sports cars, so should put on a pretty good race for us tonight.
Yeah, our key portions of the track. Turn number 2, the keyhole. It's a right hand, nearly a hairpin. It's going to be a very slow corner, 180-degree turnaround. a long straight down into turn 4 with a slight bend of turn 3. And that's our crisscross section, we're going to call it. The S's from turn 4 up through turn 9, Thunder Valley. The right hand, I believe it comes back downhill into the 10, 11, and turn 12 being the carousel. It's very similar to the keyhole, turn 2, but a little bit different of an entrance. So the drivers will have some different challenges to face throughout the entire race, really trying to narrow down on the rhythm here that you really have to have at a track like Mid-Ohio. Bringing up your race analysis on the screen now. We've got 40 laps on the board, about 1:08 to 1:10 in lap time, so it'll go by pretty quickly. A pit road speed of 45 miles per hour. Of course, these Indy cars with the pit road speed limiter available shouldn't be a problem for these drivers. 3 tire sets available, and with that one mandatory tire compound change. 65% fuel with the iRacing fixed setups. And again, those lap times around the 1:08 area is what we're seeing in the qualifying times, all the way up to about a 1:12 in the top 10. So, it's like I said, it's going to go by very quick. As long as we can keep things straight and narrow out here on the track. A lot of drivers that are through this field that I saw putting down extremely fast lap times in practice, rather, not quite putting down the same lap time in qualifying now, Daniel.
Yeah, a couple of drivers that we really expected to be up there, putting a challenge really to Rick Ray Vaughn, that just have not yet done so. They do still have a time to start another lap, and with it being open qualifying, iRacing will actually give you a chance to finish up your qualifying lap just as long as you start it before that timer hits 0. So even though there's only 29 seconds left, they still have time to try to get out there and put down one more fast lap. So while we have a moment, what do you say we take a quick look at our schedule as we head into the rest of the season here? Got Mid-Ohio, of course, tonight. Next week, going back to one of our ovals as we head to Iowa. It's going to be an interesting one that they run in real life. It's a little bit difficult to pass there at times, but these Indy cars at least have a few more lane options just with the repave and how that track is driven now. We head off to Portland after that. We do have a week off for Thanksgiving, but after the off week, we head to Portland. Laguna Seca, that's probably my favorite road course to watch in these Indy cars, especially as they head through that corkscrew. And then going for the season finale at Michigan. If you're more of a stock car, NASCAR type of fan, that's basically going to be like watching Daytona or Talladega here with these Indy cars. It's going to be wide open, going to be a lot of pack racing. That one has the capability to be a little bit chaotic.
It always does have that capability, just as well as any of these other tracks that have been on this schedule. We've had our hardships through the season, but overall some pretty fine racing here on these Tuesdays. We've really brought the field down to about 14 cars here tonight, so it should stay pretty clean out here. I would imagine a lot of good battles being formed in the front running of the race, as well as the middle pack of this race. A lot of these lap times being within just a couple hundredths of each other, or even tenths in some of the cases for qualifying, and a lot of the practice times were looking nearly identical from driver to driver. So it'll be very interesting to see how they can navigate once we get under green flag conditions. About 10 more seconds here left in qualifying. I don't see any other drivers out on the racetrack trying to finish up any sort of lap time that they may have. It should be coming to a close here, as it does. Well, it's no surprise. We've seen it time and time again this season, but taking our number 1 position, our Jam Printing and Promotion Pole Award goes to the number 1 of Rick Ray Vaughn. Again, we've seen it time and time again this season, but since forming in 2013, Jam has contributed printing and promotional sponsorships to more than 60 local nonprofits, with a primary focus on organizations that assist veterans, women, and children. They've been with Goat Locker Racing since the very beginning, local and veteran certified. When they do well, they do good in the community. Congrats, Rick Ray Vaughn, for I don't even know how many of those Jam Printing and Promotion Pole Awards he's collected this season, but it's been quite a few. Now for the rest of our grid, starting to his outside, it's going to be the 23 of Ryan Pendleton, making his way up onto the front row here. Get our grid up here on the screen momentarily. In row number 2, it'll be the 48 of Jacob Ellis, lining up next to the 71 of Jordan Johnson, one of those drivers I had my eye on in the practice session. I believe ultimately ended up setting the fastest lap in practice, so keep your eye on that 71 starting on the outside of row 2. In row number 3, it's the 91 of Christopher Gosch, lining up next to the 4 of Mike Browning. In the 7th position, it's the 36 of Samuel Yosef, lining up next to the 117 of Warren Clayton in P8. In 9th, the 24 of Devin Smith will be next to the 82 of Jason Kristen for P10. And 4 more cars to go. The 085 of James Goshen starting out in 11th, next to the 45 of DJ Patterson. Last but not least, our 14-car field, 7 rows deep. It's the 76 of Jonathan Lawless next to the 16 of Jamie Lipke. So we've got cars rolling on the field now, ready to go. Daniel, is there any driver out here that you really had your eye on practice or qualifying?
Man, really trying to get me to put a broadcaster curse on somebody tonight. But, you know, I'm with you. That 71 of Jordan Johnson starting in the 4th position here this evening was putting down some really fast lap times in practice, as you had mentioned. I know at one point he was within 1/10 of a second of the fastest lap set by Rick Ray Vaughn. I believe you're correct. He may have actually gotten them for the fastest lap before practice ended. So that would be my driver to watch as far as who I think could get up here and maybe mount a challenge for this win today.
Should be a very fun race to watch here. Again, 40 laps on the board. These drivers do have to change that tire compound. We've got a mixed field on primaries and alternates. Our top 8 drivers, so Rick Ray Vaughn all the way back to Warren Clayton, on the grid are starting on the alternate compound. Devin Smith back to Jamie Lipke, 9th through 14th, are all starting on the primaries. So this race could very easily flip back and forth once we get into those pit cycles where these drivers will have to take that extra tire, or that different tire rather, try to put down just as fast of a lap time. This one's going to be pretty good here tonight. Rick Ray Vaughn there closest to the wall on the screen. The 23 of Ryan Pendleton to his driver's side right. Jacob Ellis, Jordan Johnson in row 2. The pink and white 71 machine for Jordan Johnson. The pace car makes its way down through turn 12 and off the track, and away we go at Mid-Ohio. The Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series Week 11 is live on V-Speed.
And a really good jump there from our 2nd place starter, Ryan Pendleton. He's actually going to be able to clear Rick Ray Vaughn for the lead, but Ray Vaughn looking to the inside, trying to get back around for that number 1 spot. It looks like he's going to be able to do so. So a really good start there for Pendleton. Looked like he anticipated that initial green flag coming out just a little bit better than the pole sitter did. But the battle is on right now. I think Pendleton realizes if you let Rick Ray Vaughn get out there and get control of this race, he's just going to be able to put it on cruise control and just kind of pull away from everybody. So trying to make it go just a little bit harder than he wants here early on, trying to see if maybe he could get ahead of Ray Vaughn, get him to burn his tires up a little bit in the dirty air. But as they get through this first lap, Rick Ray Vaughn now starting to pull away by almost a 1/2 second over Ryan Pendleton.
That's the dangerous aspect of that number 1 car. Once you get clean air on the nose, it's very hard to slow down Rick Ray Vaughn as he comes around to claim lap lead number 1. Pendleton about a 1/2 second back now as they work their way down through turn 1. into the keyhole. Turn number 2. Battle between, looks like, Samuel Joseph and Jordan Johnson for that top 5 position. The 71 holding it down. Samuel Joseph was on attack. Now the 71 of Johnson on attack for the 91 of Christopher Gosch, just up ahead. 0.2 of a second separate them.
Yeah, and Jordan Johnson already using just a little bit of push to pass down that straightaway, trying to use it to both play a little bit of defense over Samuel Joseph and try to close in on the 91 of Christopher Gosch. So another tool that these drivers have at their disposal to try to make some moves or even just to try to retain track positions. We got one spinning. That's Ryan Pendleton, and he immediately toes as the entire rear wing of that car came off after contact with the wall. Unfortunate turn of events here for the driver of the 23. As we take a quick look on the V-Speed instant replay here, looked like he caught just a little bit of curb. Now he was able to get it settled back down. Oh, he got out in the grass coming up over that hill. And yeah, just around she goes, and it does not take a lot of contact in these cars for it to be terminal damage at that point.
The grass is way more slick than the racing surface, I will say that. Ryan Pendleton can attest, as I believe he has worked his way back to the garage, electing to not use that fast repair that is available. So the 23 will retire early after being a top contender up here. That's unfortunate to see. Rick Ray Vaughn now with a 1.7 second lead over our new second place driver, Jay Jacob Ellis. Christopher Gosch up to P3 with Jordan Johnson and Samuel Joseph moving into the top 5. See Johnson 0.3 of a second behind Christopher Gosch.
Oh, and Christopher Gosch has damage. He just went up and over the back of another car. And massive damage to the front wing of Christopher Gosch. Let's go back and take another look at this one on the V-Speed instant replay here. Didn't catch entirely who that was that he ran into there. I believe it was the 45 car that was just up the road. Oh, yeah. That is, yeah, that's another one of those potential night enders there.
DJ Patterson in the 45, just trying to stay on the lead lap as best as possible. Fortunately caught in the crossfire, kind of a blind corner there for Christopher Gosch. So we take an onboard look now with the 91 machine. See the slow up, the gap is there momentarily, very loose conditions. Just not enough real estate. Keeps it out of the way of the other drivers following behind. Works his way back out on the track and now into pit road. Back out on the track rather now, but has used that fast repair and currently holding down the 9th position. Has a lot of work to do to get that 91 back up to where it was. Taking a look at Warren Clayton now up into the top 5. Jordan Johnson, Samuel Joseph just up ahead of him. Jordan Johnson starting to work on the back of the 48. Jay Jacob Ellis closing in by about 0.4 of a second. Jacob Ellis gets a better drive off of the corner. Gets away from the 71 for a little bit out of turn number 2. Down the long stretch. A slight bend, the right-hander at turn 3 into turn 4. So we start getting into the left-hand, right-hand section, the S's from 4 up to turn 9.
And Jay Jacob Ellis was a driver that had a lot of speed last week at Road America, but ran into some problems early on in that race. Had a little bit of an off-road excursion, we'll call it, on the opening start of the race. So much better start here this week. Be curious to see if he shows the same kind of pace as he did last week, if he may be able to get up there and mount a challenge to Rick Ray Vaughn. These drivers, you know, they're running pretty similar lap times right now, and actually taking a look that last lap around, Jay Jacob Ellis was about 0.6 of a second faster than Rick Ray Vaughn. So, you know, we've been talking about it. Who can get up there? Who can mount the challenge? And Jacob Ellis, if he can keep that pace up, would be there in pretty quick order. And, you know, you also touched on it earlier in the race too, Logan, with the different tire compounds between the primaries and the alternates. With Rick Ravon and the 71 of Jordan Johnson, it seemed like Jordan Johnson had more of a speed advantage on the primary tire, whereas right now they're both on the alternates, and it seemed like Ravon was faster on those alternates. So you had mentioned this race can flip very easily once we get those different tire compounds on, and that'll be another thing to keep an eye on.
And Johnson doing a great job of keeping himself close enough to Rick Ravon where that tire difference can really come into play once we make that swap. About 4.5 seconds behind our race leader. And with the pace that he had in practice, it is very, very doable depending on when we bring it down here for our first pit stop of the night. But before we get to that point, why don't we say thank you to our title sponsor here, Lincoln Tech, for our IndyCar series. Lincoln's mission is to provide superior education and training to our students for in-demand careers in a supportive, accessible learning environment, transforming students' lives and adding value to their communities. They are one of the largest automotive technology schools in the nation with 23 campuses. And as I stated, they are the title sponsor here for our Tuesday night IndyCar series, and a very large part of Goat Locker Racing. Check them out if you're interested in the automotive field. They can certainly get you going in the right direction. In the right direction we are going right now for Rick Ravon as he continues to put the distance between himself and J. Jacob Ellis. 3.5 seconds separating first and second place. Nearly 5 seconds now back to Jordan Johnson in P3. The rest of the field, quite a bit of distance between us. Samuel Joseph holding down P4, 2 seconds back from Jordan Johnson. Warren Clayton 1.5 seconds behind Joseph for P5. There goes Mike Browning, Devin Smith, Jason Kristen, James Goshen, Jamie Libke for the rest of the top 10, separated by progressively 5 seconds plus. Christopher Gosh, Jonathan Lawless, DJ Patterson, the remaining drivers on the surface. Ryan Pendleton with his early exit will take home a P14 finish here on week 11. Working on lap 8 right now. Not a whole lot has happened up to this point. It's pretty well. As soon as we took the green flag, the one incident with Ryan Pendleton, we had the contact with Patterson and Christopher Gosh. But since then, a quiet night here at Mid-Ohio.
A quiet night indeed, and it looks like, just taking a look at the last lap times, J. Jacob Ellis, that speed advantage that he had starting to narrow down just a little bit over Rick Ravon. And actually this last lap around, Rick Ravon about 0.5 tenth faster, a little bit less than that for the last lap. But Jordan Johnson now almost matching lap times with these top two cars. So maybe saving a little bit, just taking care of the tires here in the early stages of the run. And those red wall tires, those alternate tires, they do lose grip a little bit faster as we've actually got a car off. It's the 76 of Jonathan Lawless. Just went really hard into the tire barrier. Massive damage on the front of that machine. As we cue this up on the V-Speed instant replay. It seems like we're catching a little bit of a theme here with this one particular part of the track with the elevation changes. Just coming over that same turn, didn't get into the grass or anything, just the car gets really light when you come up to the top of that hill. You're trying to get the power down, trying to get as much speed and as much time as you can out of it. So he got just a little bit of wheel cranked into it and just loses that rear grip as he crests the hill and into the tire barrier.
And one thing we've come to know throughout this season, once the rear end of this car starts to slide, it is next to impossible to try to save it. Did a great job. It was nearly there. The tires were just a little bit too close to the racing surface, or the track wasn't just wide enough to slow him down. The grass didn't help at all. Here we go with the battle for P10. Christopher Goss, Jamie Libke. That one settled out just as quickly as it came. Christopher Goss able to get around the 16. I believe Libke might have gone a little off track there, lost a little bit of grip, couldn't quite get the drive off of the corner. Looks to be a healthy race car, however. No damage being shown on the 16 Libke. That's a crucial part to these Tuesday night races at this point. It's just getting to the finish line, no matter where you're at in the points. With these smaller field numbers here, your points can gather up rather quickly if you're outside of the top 10 and just want to be able to say that you came home throughout the season in a top 10 position. It's a good way to get there as Warren Clayton brings it down to pit road.
Oh, he got into the wall coming under the pits. He was trying to get everything he could, making his entry into the pit lane, and made some pretty substantial contact with that inside wall. Let's take a look here on the replay. Just happened to catch the tail end of that, and yeah, he gets off, and I know it doesn't look like a big hit, but you could see that left front corner of the wing starting to flex and move around. So in these Indy cars, that is probably going to be worthy of a fast repair with that damage. And it looks like we've actually got another driver off track. That is the 82 of Jason Kristen. Just went for a little bit of an excursion through the grass, but also able to get it pointed in the right direction. Do not believe that Jason Kristen hit anything. That definitely got that car rolling back in the right direction here. So,
ooh, hit the curbing for the exit of pit road, separating the racing surface from the safe entry.
That's a really impressive save, actually, at that point of the track. Let's take a look at the onboard here. I didn't actually see the save at first. I just saw the grass kicking up. And yeah, hits that curb. That is not something you see very often in these Indy cars. You just talked about how hard it is to save these. So that's a pretty impressive piece of driving to hang on after catching that curb.
Absolutely is. It allows the 117 of Warren Clayton to get by, but keeps it within a second. Should be able to attack at any moment. Rather, Jason Kristen is not yet pit, so you will still have to bring it down. Well, unlikely to see a pass on the 117 made before the pit stop, but Mike Browning has brought it down pit road. He's working his way back out onto the track. He has worked his way back out onto the track, rather, up ahead of the 117 of Clayton. Christopher Gosch now enters his pit stall, the 91. Back in P11, still trying to make that recovery effort. Does go one lap down as Rick Ray Vaughn will take it around here on lap 13. Still has yet to bring it down to pit road. Swap over to the primary tires for the number one team. Top off on that race fuel. Be interesting to see if there's any potential of a driver trying to make this just a one-stop race at all. We see somebody try to stretch it out to that lap 20 mark. I'd say it's highly unlikely. Should very much be a 2 or 3 stop race, depending on what strategy you would like to run. Warren Clayton gets around the inside. Mike Browning holding it out wide, letting the 117 get by with no issues. Jason Kristen would be next in line, still about a second behind Mike Browning. Clayton up into P6 now. JJ Cabellis off the track. What has happened to the 48? Jordan Johnson takes over P2. Samuel Joseph up onto the third step of the podium. But let's take it back on the V-Speed Instant Replay. Find out what happened. Just comes out straight of the corner. Never attempts to turn, only on the brakes. I'm going to say that's a technical issue for JJ Cabellis. We'll get an onboard look here. Keep an eye on your steering wheel. That will be our telltale sign as to what has happened. There it is.
Yeah,
looks
that
like
is
locked it up, just trying to keep it straight here. Well, good job to keep it off of the tire barrier on the outside of the track, out of the sand pit. You definitely do not want to beach these vehicles. You would have to utilize that tow button, and that's a long time here at Mid-Ohio. About 2.5 minutes for that tow truck to come pick you up. There's a paint scheme that we like to see, the Buc-ee's car. Samuel Joseph up into P3 now. Repping the best gas station on the face of the planet.
I don't
bias
know.
from the GT3 series. What can I say?
I don't know if you've gone back and listened to any of the broadcasts from last week with myself and Jake Reeves on there, but Jake Reeves told us that he is not a fan of Buc-ee's. And I before I knew that I was filling in tonight, I figured that might have been some fighting words between you and your co-commentator up here tonight with the Buc-ee's slander.
Well, let's just say there's a reason you're here and Jake's not. I'm just kidding, Jake. We still love you, buddy. But those are fighting words. We don't take kindly to it. Neither does Samuel Joseph, as he is fending for position on the track, not position on the board. Does not have competition for another 2 seconds, and that's going to be the 48 of J. Jacob Ellis. Samuel Joseph said, hold my beaver nuggets. And watch this, taking up P3 at the moment. 15 laps into his run. Mike Browning starting to catch up with Warren Clayton a little bit further back. These two battles are the closest on the field. We'll bounce back and forth between Joseph and Jacob Ellis, Clayton and Browning here. See which one progresses first. Browning within about 9/10 of a second. Jacob Ellis now down to within 6/10 of a second. Looks like Jordan Johnson bringing it down pit road. 71 making his first pit stop on lap 16 here. Jacob Ellis closing in on Joseph. Now less than a half second separating the 36 and the 48 machine for P2. In our top three at this point, Ray Vaughn, Joseph, Jacob Ellis, neither driver has brought it down pit road. It's got to be coming soon. I don't think there's any way possible to stretch it out to that 20-lap part of the race. 24, Devin Smith brings it down pit road. Jason Christen in the 82 will follow out of P8. James Goshen able to get around. Goshen still needs to bring it down pit road. But here we go for P2. Jacob Ellis hot on the tail of Samuel Joseph, looking to the outside. Can't quite get the nose there. Has to fall back in line through the S's. See how he handles it on the exit and coming back to the straight.
And they both chase each other onto pit road here. So both second and third place, Samuel Joseph and J. Jacob Ellis hitting the pit lane here simultaneously. I was really concerned that one of them might get into one another, but they did a nice job of navigating that pit entry here, which is pretty narrow and a little unique with just how that bend is in the pit road entry there. So nice job by those drivers. Take a look here on track. Rick Ray Vaughn has yet to come down pit road, but this is Warren Clayton and Mike Browning here still battling for position. Saw the four of Browning get, or rather let Warren Clayton by earlier, but Mike Browning making up a lot of time, coming in hot into the keyhole there. Maybe lost just a little bit of front downforce and a little bit of braking power there right behind Warren Clayton. See if he can get a run down this straightaway. Clayton using that push to pass to play a little bit of defense here with Mike Browning having that toe, but not quite able to get around them. The battle for third, though, is on. Two drivers that just came off a pit lane between Jacob Ellis and Samuel Joseph. Jacob Ellis able to actually get ahead of Samuel Joseph there through the pit cycle and now retakes that position on track. Still waiting for... No, actually, I'm sorry. Rick Ray Vaughn and Jordan Johnson have actually hit the pit lane. So those two drivers have made their pit stops now.
For Mike Browning, still trying to chase down Warren Clayton. Samuel Joseph relinquishes that top three spot to Jacob Ellis, but keeps himself within a second. He still has enough time to strike if he can find the rhythm, or if Jacob Ellis makes a mistake, then it could be a very different ball game here. Again, Rick Ray Vaughn, Jordan Johnson both have to put together flawless runs to the end. They are not without or out of the range just yet for any of these drivers here in the top five to be able to make a comeback here if they make a mistake. Rick Ray Vaughn now a 10-second lead over second place. 7-second lead for Jordan Johnson over Jacob Ellis for P2 to P3. Of course, we see Samuel Joseph now falling back about 2 seconds behind Jacob Ellis in P4. So we're starting to spread back out through the field. Mike Browning is still trying to chase down Warren Clayton, work his way into the top 5. He's done a great job of holding on to about a half-second gap here. See how it plays out for Browning. If he can make that pass at some point. And there we go with Libke in front of him. The 16 a little squirrely on the exit of turn 13. We'll keep our eyes here on Mike Browning and Warren Clayton, as Clayton's starting to catch up with Samuel Joseph now. What has happened to the Bucky's car? The 36 completely falling off pace. 5.5 seconds behind Jacob Ellis now. I think he might be trying to stretch this 22 or 23 laps here and try to take it all the way to the end. That's the only thing that makes sense, is to turn this car in onto a higher engine map, go for the fuel saving run. It's a very bold call, but it could pay off for Samuel Joseph.
Yeah, the only other thing that I could potentially think is that Samuel Joseph did go ahead and swap tire compounds, qualified on the soft tire, now running the hard tire, the primary. So possibly just still trying to feel out and get an idea for what exactly the grip level is with that tire, but definitely a pace difference here. And just taking a look at our top 5, all of those drivers opting to switch from the alternate to the primary tire, with the exception of Jacob Ellis. He started on the soft alternate tire. He is still running the alternate tire, but most everyone else in our top 10 has went ahead and taken care of that compound switch. So they've got that out of the way here. And I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, that it seemed like between Rick Ray Vaughn and Jordan Johnson, that Johnson had the advantage with the primary tire. Looking that last time by, Jordan Johnson was actually 0.9 of a second faster than Rick Ray Vaughn. So something else to keep an eye on here, although it does look like Ray Vaughn maybe caught just a little bit of lap traffic there as well, but still starting to close that gap. But this battle between Warren Clayton and Mike Browning, it just will not go away. These two drivers still pretty well glued to one another. Mike Browning doing a nice job hanging on to the back of that 117 car of Warren Clayton. Samuel Joseph looks like starting to pick the pace up just a little bit here. So potentially he also did stay out longer than Clayton and Browning as well. So may have still been just trying to work a little bit of heat into the tires as well.
They very well could be the case. We saw Joseph falling back off of the rear wing of Jacob Ellis. Warren Clayton, Mike Browning got within about a second to Samuel Joseph, now up 2 seconds again. Mike Browning still within that half-second range of Warren Clayton. Devin Smith, Christopher Goss trying to work his way back up the board, the last driver on the lead lap, and about 15 seconds ahead of our race leader right now. So he's very close to going a lap down. Be very uncommon for the 91. Jason Kristen, James Goshen rounding out the top 10. Jamie Libke, DJ Patterson, Jonathan Lawless, 11th, 12th, and 13th. From 9th place back, they are being scored as 1 lap or more down. So only 8 cars remain on the lead lap. And if you recall earlier in the season, we did have a race with Rick Ray Vaughn and one other driver. Can't recall who. I apologize to whoever that may be. I want to almost say Ryan Pendleton. The only 2 drivers to finish the race on the lead lap. It was quite the spectacle to behold, to watch those 2 get away from the entire field like that. Quite impressive, but nonetheless, here we are, week 11, 138-point lead for Rick Ray Vaughn, looking to extend that even more tonight. It has been an incredible season for the driver of the number 1. 7 wins to date, looking to make it number 8. Looking to make Goat Locker Racing history, I would say as well. Still with multiple races left to go here we might see, I don't think that anybody has won a double-digit amount of races in a single season at Goat Locker, Daniel.
You know, that's a good question. I think that we might need to get our statistician on that to see if that may have happened at any point in time. And by statistician, I mean, I'm probably going to have to go bug Patrick Trabick and see if he knows the answer to that question. But yeah, that is a good possibility. I mean, with the amount of races we run and with the fields that we normally have, I can't really think of a situation where there has been a double-digit winner in a season. So gonna have to see if that does indeed come to fruition for Rick Ray Vaughn. And also, if memory serves, didn't he have another win earlier in the season that ended up not counting due to not swapping tire compounds?
Indeed it did. Barber Motorsports Park, I believe, is the race that was stripped from the win column of Rick Ray Vaughn. So there's, 8 potential wins on the board, and so close to that number 10. And I think it's very, very possible. Of course, Iowa next week. We know that Rick Ray Vaughn, a very strong runner at the oval tracks as well as the road courses, but it does throw in, the potential of a different race winner as we see the 117 of Warren Clayton bringing it down pit road again here. 12 laps completed on this stint. Coming out of the top 5 to bring it down pit road here for the second time tonight. And I'll keep an eye on the 117. Car does go up in the air via 4-tire stop for Clayton. It appears that he's going to stick with the primary tires, not going to switch back to the alternates to take it to the end of the race. That is a great call, considering we still have 15, 16 laps to go.
Yeah, he is definitely on that 2-stop strategy. Should be his final stop of the race, and be able to get those primary tires rather to the end from here. You can see there that Bucky's machine still running up there in the top 5. Samuel Yosef doing your favorite gas station justice here tonight with a solid run, and just he's really just been kind of minding his own business here this evening. Kept himself out of trouble. And as you had mentioned, keeping it on the pavement, that's half the battle at these road courses. You can do that. You can usually get yourself a pretty solid finish out of it.
I believe that's what a lot of these drivers looking to do tonight. As you said, the pace, it feels, just a very relaxed type of race tonight. A lot of gaps in between our drivers here. I think the smallest gap at the moment actually being a 2-second lead, and that's for P7, Devin Smith, Christopher Gosh. So that gap does start to close. Mike Browning in pit road now coming out. That'll allow Warren Clayton to get back around to the top 5 spot. Christopher Gosh still catching up to Devin Smith. Here we go. Here's a battle that's starting to form up right in that mid-pack that I had mentioned at the top of the show. So keep an eye here from P5 back to P8. This will be Warren Clayton, Mike Browning, Devin Smith, and Christopher Gosh. All 4 drivers separated by about 6 seconds right now. Christopher Gosh being the first one to start to look to take advantage of Warren Clayton off the track just ahead. That's going to slow down his pace and just gather this group up even more. Here we go. Christopher Gosh all over the back bumper, the 24, Devin Smith. So they work their way up through the back half of the track. When will Gosh try to attack?
This is kind of that area that we've seen some drivers slip up, make some mistakes here this evening. So nice job with the battle going on between these two. Doing a really good job navigating this portion of the track. I have to feel like if you're Christopher Gosh, you've almost got to try to set it up for a move into the keyhole here. As Devin Smith misses the apex there just a little bit, it's going to give him an opportunity. Christopher Gosh looking to the outside, looking the long way around, going to try to outbrake him. Devin Smith, though, fighting back on the inside. We'll see if Gosh can carry the momentum. Drops a wheel off into the dirt just a little bit. Christopher Gosh also on that push to pass right now. It's a drag race down the straightaway as they try to get into the next turn, but Christopher Gosh able to clear through for that position. put him up into number 7 at this point.
That is a great way to display the proper usage of the push-to-pass system. Also, the advantage kind of going towards the 91 there, back on the alternate tires, so a little bit more grip through that corner. I'd say that's exactly why he can trust his ability to work around the outside. You don't see that pass made too often in any type of racing series. But very well executed by the 91. We're back to being spaced out here throughout the field. Mike Browning starting to work his way back up to Warren Clayton, just outside of the 1 second mark, behind the 117. Jay Jacob Ellis starting to put down some fast laps and catching up with Jordan Johnson. Jordan Johnson last time by ran a 1 minute 10 second .671. Jacob Ellis a 109.595. So full second faster. As this time by, Jacob Ellis 1/10 of a second faster than Jordan Johnson, but both drivers still a full second faster than Rick Ray Vaughn. So top 3 drivers starting to close in on each other.
Yeah, especially that battle between second and third here. Jacob Ellis has shown a lot of speed so far this evening. Trying to put some pressure on that 71 of Jordan Johnson. See if maybe you could get him to make a little bit of a mistake, close up closer. As you can see, it looked like the 71 caught a lot of curb there just a moment ago, but able to hang on to it pretty well. But that does let Jay Jacob Ellis now cut the gap under 1 second to that car ahead. So got to wonder if maybe Jordan Johnson starting to look in the rear view mirror just a little bit, is coming up on a little bit of lap traffic here. It's the 76 of Jonathan Lawless directly ahead of him. There was a bunch of net code, but the front bumper of the 71 looked like it just fell off. It looks like it's back on now, but I don't think I was just imagining things there. I don't know if you saw it or not, Logan, but it looked like momentarily there was some net code that caused those two cars to show contact.
Certainly looked like, I believe the front right portion of that wing was missing on the 71. Get a better camera angle here of it. A bit more of a top-down view. So there's the close up. There it goes, sliding across the racetrack. So being blessed by iRacing servers, 71 will be able to continue without damage. Still trying to mount that comeback up to the number 1 spot.
Yeah, that definitely could have ended a lot worse for Jay Jacob Ellis, or I'm sorry, rather for Johnson there. So able to hang on to it, able to keep it in the right direction. Looks like he was spared of any damage from that. So take a look at this battle for position here. While we do have a quick moment, just want to thank another one of our league sponsors. I'm going to give a shout out to Save 22, one of our great sponsors that we have here throughout all of Goat Locker. They are a 501c3 organization dedicated to preventing suicide among veterans, active duty personnel, and first responders. Their unwavering mission extends to 4 critical pillars: shield, assist, volunteer, and educate. Is save22.vet. We appreciate all of their support with what they do, both here in Goat Locker and with our veterans and active duty personnel.
I saw somebody going off the track just momentarily behind Jay Jacob Ellis. I'm trying to find who it was. It was the 91 of Christopher Gosh. No, he was making his way back up through the field. Ends up sliding out of the corner. I believe that was just before the carousel out of turn 11 into turn 12. As we got another one off the track here. My, oh my, what is happening in the last couple laps of the race? We're 10 to go. We've got multiple off-track incidences now.
As we go back and take a look on the instant replay here, this is Warren Clayton and Mike Browning. And yeah, with Mike Browning, that's just a lockup. Probably losing a little bit of front downforce there behind the 117. And you can see just how much dirt and gravel debris that pulls out onto the track. Let's take a look here at the incident with Christopher Gosh and see what happened with him. It just gets a little bit wide there, and going for a bit of an airtime there. So a couple different drivers with issues. The 45 of DJ Patterson, like he may have run into a bit of an issue as well. This goes a little bit wide, trying to get it turned back down, and just a little bit too much throttle there. Gets it, able to keep it off of the walls and everything. But, you know, one thing with these off-track incidents, once they start, they have a tendency to compound one another. You know, we saw it there, especially with Mike Browning after he went through the...
Sorry to cut you off there, but Jordan Johnson into the pits. We are less than 10 laps to go. The 71 lost the spot to the 48 of JJ Cabela's just about a lap and a half ago, and now has brought it down to the pits, making a switch back to the alternate tires. What a call.
Yeah, I like the call out of him. It looked like he did lose a spot in that to Samuel Joseph, but he's had plenty of pace that he should at least be able to get that back. So, yeah, I mean, I like the call. If you know that you're going to run third, maybe try something a little bit different here. See if you could bait those top two drivers into maybe coming back down the pit lane, but see if it works out for them.
I think they can make it on fuel to the end. I think that's the ultimate call here. Is we saw it. Nobody was able to make it to the halfway point for the first stint of the race. So assuming that they ran it completely out of fuel, it only makes sense as now JJ Cabela's bringing it down here the lap after Jordan Johnson. Rick Ray Vaughn going to continue out around the racetrack. We saw him go about 18 laps, I believe, last stint. 17 laps. So it's coming up on that same window now for the number one machine. Very interesting to see how it plays off for P2 and P3 between Jacob Ellis and Johnson. Samuel Joseph now bringing it down to pit road, relinquishing his P3 position back to Jordan Johnson on his pit cycle. Very interesting here. Only 6 cars remain on the lead lap right now. Rick Ray Vaughn back to Mike Browning. Christopher Gosch, the 91, our first driver, 1 lap down. And I tell you what, it would be criminal to not mention another one of our fantastic sponsors here, also located in Ohio. That's Cruisin' Classics out in Columbus, Ohio. Cruisin' Classics has a beautiful 56,000 square foot showroom filled with hundreds of unique automobiles. There's something for everybody out of their hand-picked selection of muscle cars and hot rods. Come on down and visit the facility today, or check out their website at cruisinclassicsinc.com. Just down the road here, I believe, a little ways away from Columbus. The Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series, 34 laps into our event at Mid-Ohio. Rick Ray Vaughn, JJ Cabela's, Jordan Johnson putting on a show up here in the top 3. 7.5 seconds separate Rick Ray Vaughn and JJ Cabela's. Ray Vaughn did have to bring it back down pit road. He's brought it back out on the alternate tires here. We'll see what kind of fast laps he can put down, as he still has 200 seconds remaining of the push-to-pass system. His competition, Jacob Ellis, 54 seconds remain on primaries. Jordan Johnson, 73 seconds remain also on alternates. Samuel Joseph, 184 seconds in the tank for him. So you might see Samuel Joseph try to utilize that throughout the field here in the last 5 or 6 laps. Try to close up that gap and see if he can contend for a P3 spot, but I don't think that he'll be able to recover a 32.5 second difference up to Rick Ray Vaughn for P1. Ray Vaughn now using his push to pass for the first time on the night. Very late in the race, but we've seen it time and time again where you save it all up for the last handful of laps and really just blow your fast lap out of the water. We could very easily see a 107 coming out of that number 1 car.
Yeah, it would not be surprising to see him go out there and just set an absolutely blistering lap. And, you know, one thing, Logan, just to go back and touch on this again, we talked about, has a driver ever won double-digit races in a Goat Locker season? Well, thanks to our chief statistician, Jake Ellingson, he has confirmed that no driver has ever won 10 races in a season here in Goat Locker. The single season record is 8, held by Andy Kurtz. So if Rick Ray Vaughn is able to hold on today, he will tie the single season Goat Locker record in any given series.
And then still with Iowa, Portland, Laguna Seca, and Michigan on the season, he's got a great chance of making Goat Locker history. On board now with the 71 of Jordan Johnson. 0.4 of a second behind Jay Jacob Ellis. Your battle for P2. 5 to go here in Mid-Ohio. Take a lap on board with our P3 driver here. Bring up that telemetry on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. You can see just how fast these drivers are working down in the corner. This is a gear selection as well as being on the steering wheel. 4th gear, 5th gear, up to 6th, coming down our fastest section of the track. Turn 3 up to turn 4. Entering turn 4, now the bottom of the S's. Quick left, right, left, right. Johnson doing everything he can to stay as close as possible to Jay Jacob Ellis. Some lap traffic coming into play just ahead of them. We'll have to see how they navigate it out of the S's now. Another short straight down to turn 10. Turn 11, left-hander. Carousel, turn 12. Back to the left hand, to the front straight, turn 13. Oh, a little bit wide there. That's going to open up the door for Johnson as Jay Jacob Ellis had to check up for the lap traffic. Doesn't play into the hands of the 48 very easily, but he does retain the position. Johnson takes a peek to the inside, diving down into turn number 2, falls back in line for the keyhole, and back to the back straight.
And both drivers on the push to pass right now. Jordan Johnson trying to use it to get around Jacob Ellis. Jacob Ellis using it to try to play a little bit of defense, but Jordan Johnson looks like he's got the preferred lane, looks like he's got a way around. There's still going to be wheel to wheel through this left-right combo where we saw on board. It just, you've got those switchbacks through there, but Jordan Johnson able to complete the pass, clear through for the number 2 position. Really impressive run for him to get back up there on those alternate tires, utilizing the extra grip. We'll see if they can hang on better than those primaries for the next 3 laps, coming to 2 laps here, and see if he can hang on.
I think Jacob Ellis missed his opportunity to stay ahead of the 71. On the primary tires being such a deficit in itself to the alternates, the lack of push to pass still available for Jacob Ellis. I don't see it being very promising for him to get around, but he's going to put the wing up underneath him. Contact made, keeping it straight, but it only hurts Jacob Ellis, because that is only damage to the front wing of his race car. But he's going to get alongside Jordan Johnson back down into turn 3, side by side again through turns 4, 5, 6, 7. It looks to be that Jacob Ellis' strong suit is kind of around this this middle section of the track. The S is playing in favor for the 48. Jordan Johnson right now not putting those alternate tires to great use. Jacob Ellis loose behind. I'll give him a little bit of breathing room for the moment, but Jordan Johnson going to have to find a better line through the S's if he wants to keep ahead of Jacob Ellis.
Yeah, in the last couple of laps down that long straightaway right out of the keyhole, Jacob Ellis has been on the push to pass more than Jordan Johnson. So Jordan Johnson trying to play a little bit of defense, just utilizing the line that he's running. He's loose. The 48 saves it. But that is going to seal the battle for second at this point. What a save, though, by Jay Jacob Ellis, able to hang on to it as we take a look on board here with the 48. Just gets a little bit hot through there, and I thought maybe he clipped the grass at first before it got loose. But no, it was loose on the
again.
Yeah, he was loose on the pavement, just trying to push for everything he can right there to get back to Jordan Johnson. But that is going to give the 71 the breathing room that he was hoping for to try to bring this home in the number 2 spot.
Back up at the front of the field, Rick Ray Vaughn coming out of turn 13 to the white flag here at Mid-Ohio. White flag brought to you by InVets. InVets aids in transitioning to civilian life, focusing on job placement and finding the right community for veterans and their families to ensure their success and happiness. They're a veteran nonprofit in Indiana with a goal to bringing veterans to that state to live and work. They're the title sponsor of the Sunday series, the Xfinity series. Also gearing up for the playoffs here. Of course, our IndyCar series, a straight up championship points out the back. No playoffs here on these Tuesday nights. Rick Ray Vaughn, as he works his way down to the carousel for the final time tonight. Out of turn 10.
Rick Ray Vaughn just keeping it nice and clean through here. Trying to bring this home for win number 8 of the season. He's going to be able to do so in dominating fashion. Rick Ray Vaughn is your winner here at Mid-Ohio. Back behind him, though, we've still got a pretty spirited battle going on for the number 5 position. Final spot in the top 5 here. That is Warren Clayton, Mike Browning. They are going at it right now for that final spot in the top 5. Browning looking to the inside, not quite able to make the move stick. That might be just enough of a gap for Warren Clayton to be able to pull away.
It's looking like it has a good possibility of it. Still some time left on the push to pass for Browning to use. It looks like he's not going to have enough time to do it. Warren Clayton, 0.7 of a second ahead. Out of the carousel, turn 13, back to the front stretch, and he will hold on to that top 5 position.
Yeah, really good battle back around for that number 5 spot, but the night belongs, as it has for the majority of this season, to Rick Ray Vaughn. Starts on pole, leads every lap, goes flag to flag here for the win at Mid-Ohio.
Seen it time and time again. It gets repeated week after week here. It seems to be the theme. If you can get to the lead at the beginning of the race, you can typically take it all the way to the end. 104 seconds still remain in the push to pass tank for Rick Ray Vaughn as you see the wiggle in celebration. We'll take it to a quick commercial break, have a word from a couple of our sponsors. We'll be right back for our Goat Locker Racing post-race show and interviews with our top 3. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Superior quality, ultimate protection, and the highest level of craftsmanship. We make our gloves for the hard worker that wakes up every morning and gives 110%. You deserve the highest quality protective gear that's going to work for you, day in, day out. We know it can be tough deciding what companies to trust for your hard-earned money. It's all in our name. We've mastered our craft to help you master yours. We make our gloves rugged, durable, and designed for you. Whatever the job is, we have you covered. We are your glove station.
A thriving job market and low cost of living, plus a wide range of veteran benefits, make Indiana the perfect place for veterans of the United States military to call home. InVets can help you find that home. We're an organization started by veterans to help former service members transition to civilian life in our state. InVets can help you find the community with the career opportunities, housing, schools, and amenities that fit your lifestyle. To learn more about InVets, visit us at invets.org today.
And we're back here at Mid-Ohio, and we saw what was a dominating race by none other than Rick Ravon in the number one machine. We saw it live, but let's go ahead and run through our race results. Jordan Johnson getting a P2 here tonight in the 71 machine with J.J. Cabellis in the 48. Rounding out our podium, 3 drivers ready to talk to us as soon as we're done here. Samuel Yosef in the 36, a solid night for him, up in the battle for P2 at one point. 36 rounds out here in fourth with the 117 of Warren Clayton being able to get back around Mike Browning after his last pit stop, comes home in P5. Mike Browning in the number 4 machine takes home 6 with Christopher Gosch, the 91, an early race incident, takes him out of contention for the top runnings, but makes a solid comeback to a 7th place finish. The 24 of Devin Smith in P8, the 82 of Jason Kristen with a pretty quiet night for that team. Coming home in 9th, James Goshen in the 085 rounds out our top 10. 2 laps down, it's the 16 of Jamie Libke in P11. 9 laps down, the 45 of DJ Patterson. 17 laps down, the 76 of Jonathan Lawless. And of course, the 23 of Ryan Pendleton knocked out very early in the race. Our one and only retirement of the race, however, our 13 other drivers still taking it to the checkered flag, Daniel. We've got drivers that are ready to have a chat, some podium finishers that would like to say what they have to say about the race. We're going to start with our race winner. That's going to be the number 1 of Rick Ravon. Joining us in the booth, Rick, you've got Daniel and Logan up here in the V-Speed booth. You got a copy.
How you doing, guys?
Doing fantastic, my friend. Glad to see you again. It's been a couple weeks since we've had this chat, but you come away with yet another win, make it number 8 on the season. We did a little background search here of the Goat Locker archives and found out that there are no records of any drivers hitting the double-digit mark in a single season. You've got 4 races remaining to pick up 2 wins. Rick Ravon, you're pretty well set for the championship here of the Lincoln Tech IndyCar Series at this point. Of course, anything can change, but are you looking to make some Goat Locker history here in the next 4 weeks?
Well, I don't know about history. I'm just looking to go out there and do the best I can and win races. This has been a dream season. You got some really quick guys out there, and to come out on top as many times as we have, it really is it's like a dream.
That it is. It's fun to come out here and watch you take on these tracks, and of course leading 40 laps again here tonight. You pretty well seem to have this one mastered. What were the key components of coming away with yet another win on the season here for you tonight?
Probably just experience, because I've got about 30 years of sim racing experience, and you just have to know how to hustle a car, how much you can get away with. Tested the reds and the blacks in practice, so I pretty much knew what I could get away with. The back end will start coming around a little bit, and you just have to kind of massage it. Hope that the other guys aren't massaging it. Hope that they make mistakes. That lap 1 battle was fantastic. That was a lot of fun. I didn't know if I was going to be able to hold on to the lead from the pole, but that was a lot of fun. But from that point on, I just started pulling away, and then we went back. Then we went down to map 5 to save a little fuel, because we were right on the edge of getting an extra lap in, so we were able to do that. And then we just threw reds on that last stint and just went for it, just to ensure that we were as quick as we could be at for those last laps.
That certainly paid off. The fastest lap in the field, a 108.142 for you. Rick Ravon, you're no stranger to it. who would you like to say thanks to for your race win here at Mid-Ohio?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thanks to the world's greatest trade school. If you want to be an auto mechanic or an automotive technician, they say these days, Lincoln Tech. Thank you, Lincoln Tech. I hope you guys at Lincoln Tech are enjoying the show. I want to big shout out to Save 22 and, of course, the Indiana Department of Veteran Affairs. Is there a better organization on earth to take care of our veterans? I want to thank my wife. I want to thank my kids. Thank all the drivers. Thank everybody here at Goat Locker Racing for putting this on. You guys, of course, in the booth, Daniel, Logan, and Lucas. Hey, it's good to see Lucas as well. V-Speed, thanks to you guys. And of course, like I always do, thanks to the Lord Jesus for dying on the cross for me to save me from eternal damnation. Thank you, Lord Jesus. I love you with all my heart, soul, mind, and breath. And that's about it.
Well, congratulations once again for the 8th time this season. Rick Ray Vaughn taking home Mid-Ohio. Get to celebrate, my friend. We will see you next week in Ohio or Iowa.
Iowa.
Not staying in Ohio.
Well, that is going to be a challenge. Thank you very much, Logan. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night. And that leaves us with just 2 to go. I believe, Daniel Cunningham, you've caught up with our second place finisher, the driver of the 71, Jordan Johnson.
Hey, Jordan, this is Daniel, Logan, and Lucas up in the V-Speed booth. You got us?
Yeah, got you.
Well, man, really solid run tonight. You showed a lot of speed in practice, a lot of speed during the race. It's coming up 1 spot short of that top spot on the podium here this evening. You know, we saw a really good battle between yourself and Jay Jacob Ellis there for the number 2 spot at the end of the race. Just tell us a little bit about that battle, what your mindset was after you kind of short pitted in the tire compound that you chose there.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was doing, so I just kind of came in and short pitted him, and then knew I was going to have to race him to the end there because I saw he was still on the alternative tires, and in the end got by him and just drove away after that.
Well, really good job getting up there, getting around them with that. You know, was there anything in particular that you felt like you could have maybe done different to close that gap to Rick Ray Vaughn, or from what you did see with racing around him, was it just kind of a little bit of everywhere that he had that speed advantage?
Yeah, he's definitely fast. My issue was trying to get around the lapped cars to catch up to him. Like, I'd gain on him, and then the moment I'd catch up a lapped car, it was just he'd just pull away from me. So it just was just that effect.
Well, congrats again on the solid run with the P2 here this evening. Before we let you go, who do you want to thank? Any sponsors or shout outs?
I want to give a big shout out to Jam Printing and Promotions, Lincoln Tech, V-Speed, and Alexander's PCs for making this happen. That's all.
All right. Well, congrats again, and we will see you next week at Iowa.
Thank you.
That's our second place finisher, Jordan Johnson. Logan, I believe you are standing by with the final man on the podium, our P3 finisher, Jay Jacob Ellis.
Yeah, I've got Jay Jacob Ellis down here, the third step of the podium, but still on the podium. Can't be unhappy with that. How you doing, driver?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you guys?
Doing fantastic. Quite the show you put on there, putting on quite the battle with Jordan Johnson, Samuel Yosef, a couple of the drivers up there in the top 5, and able to come away with a clean race car, most importantly, and putting it on the podium here. I believe your first race with us here at Goat Locker. Do I stand corrected?
Hardly. I mean, I guess you kind of do. I did last week, but I ended up crashing myself out about 3/4 of the way through the race, but it was a very last minute thing,
my friend.
So yeah, I appreciate all the help everyone gave me last week to get me in last minute, but I'm glad I was able to put on a better performance this week with some practice.
Absolutely. Looking much stronger than both of us did last week. It was not the effort either one of us were looking for,
No.
but nonetheless, a P3 finish here. It kind of turns a sour into a pretty sweet treat there, but you're coming out here firing pretty hot early on, putting yourself right on to the map here of drivers that can compete for these race wins, and that's not an easy thing to do Now, coming into that, is there previous experience for you in the IndyCar series or IndyCar as a whole?
I've done a lot of iRacing, so yeah, I'm very new here, obviously. So it's cool to come in and kind of feel like I've got a shot all kind of right off the bat. But yeah, I've been on iRacing for many years. It's just I've never really done any actual league racing or anything that kind of puts my name anywhere other than just on an official leaderboard on iRacing. So yeah, it's cool to hop in and finally kind of see what I got against some other people and see what you guys can make of it and put on a show for everyone.
Well, you certainly put on a good show tonight, and looking forward to seeing you battling in the future. Welcome to Goat Locker. And there's one more question that stands for us here, Jay. Is there anybody that you'd like to say thanks to or give a shout out for your third place finish at Mid-Ohio?
Of course, I don't have much in terms of personal sponsors, but I appreciate everyone that puts this on. Of course, iRacing, couldn't do it without them, and MK Fire Design, Sim Motion, of course, and bigger than anything, Lincoln Tech for putting everything on here. So appreciate everything everyone does to make this happen, and just glad to be a part of it.
Glad to have you here, Jay. Congratulations once again. We'll see you next week at Iowa.
Thank you very much. See you guys next week.
Well, that wraps it up for our podium finishers. Daniel, we had quite the race. A lot of kind of lulls in action at times. We had a lot of gaps of 2+ seconds throughout the field, but we came to find out that very quickly could that change, and we've got a 4-car battle for a mid spot in the field.
Yeah, one thing about it, it doesn't take much as far as making a mistake at this track this evening to get the drivers bunched back up together. But next week, though, we're heading off to Iowa Speedway, and the drivers are definitely going to be bunched up there, heading back to do some more oval racing. This track, I think they made it even more challenging, more dangerous, a little harder to navigate with the repave, a little bit less usable pavement. So it's going to be interesting to see how these IndyCar drivers adapt and take on the short track next week.
Yeah, all those right-hand turns that you saw tonight, just completely forget about it for week 12. It's going to be a good one. And then we've got just 3 more to go. Of course, 2 more road course races, 1 more oval race to finish off the season here. It's been a great one. Very fun to watch. Very fun to be a part of. That'll be it for tonight. For everybody behind the scenes at Goat Locker, Patrick Drabick, Jamie Barkus, all of the other volunteers and admins, different race directors, of course, our race controllers, feel like they never get enough love at all. But for everybody behind the scene at V-Speed, Adam Baker, Bradley Cooper, Morgan Cook, of course, Eddie Smith, and the rest of the crew, my colleague in the booth tonight, Daniel Cunningham, and Lucas Lyons running our production truck. I've been Logan Threlkeld. It's been a blast. I appreciate every one of you sticking in and hanging out here with us on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Happy Veterans Day, everybody. We'll see you next time.